So where does the FDA come into play? Because you just did mention the FDA and the Food Drug Administration and and having Epidiolex just recently being approved as a drug. Does that mean that all CBD is now actually considered a drug?
So, so yes. So under the Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act, and it's important to remember that the FDA also controls cosmetics. The FDA is charged with making sure that our food, our drugs, and our cosmetics are what they say they are. And on each one of those, there are different levels and different standards. So if something were a food supplement, like let's say turmeric is a food supplement, and you were going to put it into a pill and sell it, the FDA still has control over that, and any kinds of claims you make over that, the FDA is going to require you to verify as as a structure and function claim. But if you start to make claims that are actual medical claims, then what you're saying to the FDA is that what the product you're selling is a drug. So if you were to take even turmeric and say that it cured cancer, well, now you're saying that this is a drug, and the FDA is going to require you to meet all the requirements of being approved as a drug. So when it comes to CBD, GW Pharmaceuticals did that. They went through the process for Epidiolex, and they did it for two diseases that are severe forms of epilepsy. And they finally got approval back in late May, early June. Once they had approval, the FDA then turned over to the DEA and gave the DEA 90 days to reschedule CBD, to remove CBD from Schedule 1. Well, today, the DEA did that. They actually removed CBD from Schedule 1. However, they did it very, very narrowly. So what the DEA's memo on the topic, what it specifically says is that only CBD drugs that have been approved by the FDA are actually not removed from the schedule, but moved from Schedule 1 to Schedule 5, which Schedule 5 is the lowest schedule, which I mean, my personal opinion, it's still too much of a schedule for CBD based on the abuse potential. Other drugs that are on Schedule 5 are things like cough syrup with codeine, which does have an abuse potential. I mean, people have been known to buy cough syrup with codeine and abuse it. With CBD, we don't see a potential for abuse at all, so it really technically shouldn't be on the schedule anymore. Now, the DEA's reasoning for why it keeps it on the schedule is an old treaty that they believe governs, and that under treaty law, they're required to keep CBD as a derivative of marijuana, which is still a Schedule 1 controlled substance. They still have to keep it as a controlled substance. So that's their reasoning. But they very narrowly only allowed Epidiolex or a generic version of Epidiolex, which brings us to the orphan drug status of Epidiolex. There can't be a generic form of Epidiolex for the next 7 years. So with the orphan drug status that the FDA gave GW Pharmaceuticals, no one else is allowed to produce Epidiolex or a generic version of it for the next 7 years.